Okay. Yep. Look, let's move on down the list to another place where we needed a lot of help. Cornerback, and we're going to talk about this separately from safety. And Will, hey, look, we don't have to go any further than our first round pick of a year ago. The guy you called it, Emmanuel Forbes, the guy was supposed to be a ball hawk coming out of Mississippi State. Obviously, we kind of switched up how we're doing things, and it did not benefit him. Now, mind you, he needs to get bigger. And shout out to Alex and Ab. They were talking about it. He needs to be eating consistently and definitely putting some weight on him because those big-bodied receivers are going to debo him all day long. But in this, do we still go with him? Do we get another guy that's like an older guy, like a Darrell Green-esque, that could be over there and that can talk to him and kind of have it like him and Martin Mayhew that we had in 91? You know what I mean? Do we have something like that, or do we need to just say, throw you on the bench, we get two top-tier guys, maybe a L'Jarius Sneed and, somebody else, or in a draft, and then put them in and just say, hey, you'll learn from later? What do we do here?
Yeah, no, I will say this. This is my least confident position on how do we on paper revamp this, because I don't really know. And some of it is I don't know what they value. And I will say this, for starters, right now they are looking at our team, looking at our scheme, looking at our players. And Joe Whitt Jr. said, hey, I like Forbes coming out of college. We had our eyes on him. So he mentioned him. He didn't have to. Okay. Yeah. What if that may not be nothing? It may not be anything, but it may not be nothing. Are they able to properly coach this guy? Let's remember, he was coached last year by Brent Wieselmeyer, who had been a high school coach and had one small stint in the NFL. Now he's got some coaches that have been in the league for years. And Joe Whitt Jr. said that when talking about the staff he brought in, and I think his name is Jason Simmons, is our DB coach. And they brought in Pagano, who was supposed to be helping out with the secondary, to say, we want to look at what's on this roster and see what can we do with this. I mean, I'm not that big a fan of St. Juice, but maybe they feel like they can, assist him with some better technique. They can do something with him. You said it. Deron Bland was a 5th-round pick who didn't show out until his 2nd season. He didn't just burst onto the scene in week 1 and just start taking over. They taught him how to play the position. They taught him how to play within the scheme. So with that, do we need to go out in free agency and bring someone else to be a part of them? We probably need to bring in some more talent. I'll say that, because if any one of them go down, I don't think we're comfortable with anything else we got behind them. So we probably need to bring in somebody else. Is that do they look at Kendall Fuller and say, this guy's worth bringing back? Or do they go to the Dallas well here? And I've got 2 names. Do they look at someone like Stephon Gilmore, who's obviously a little bit older? Maybe he wouldn't want to come to Washington. He'd rather stay in Dallas where they got a better chance of winning. But maybe that's where, I don't know if Nathan's listening at this time, you bring in my guy, Jordan Lewis. This is exactly what I'm talking about, bringing a guy like that in who knows the scheme. Is he an instant impact, 6 interception type player? No. But could he be better than what St. Juice and Forbes are? Potentially. Could he be better than one of the two? Could he just help mentor the guys, talking about where they need to be, how they need to play certain calls, certain positions, certain angles? Potentially. I got nobody in the draft, so if you've got names that could work with this, that would help. I don't know what type of scheme they want to do in the draft, but I do think we need a little bit of an upgrade here with somebody. But I also think it's real important that we see what can these coaches get out of what we got, or if we have anything.
Oh, yeah. And honestly, this is, for me, this is another spot that I might be interested in spending up for. This might be a place where I would be willing to put in a couple extra dollars. I mean, some of these guys, who knows if they'll be around, but you think of having an Adoree Jackson or a Micah Hyde or some of these type of dudes, and you're like, let's see about bringing in. There's a couple guys you can look at in college, and there's a number of guys that have been showing up as of late, and I'm sure there'll be a bunch of guys in the combine that'll come and they'll move up. Sure. But I honestly think, and one of the things, and I think the theme for me on defense is experience. The theme for me is experience. We've had bend but don't break, but the thing is, we've had a young defense, and it's like the youth leading the youth, man, and almost as the blind leading the blind, because these guys don't know. We're not communicating. And a lot of that was coaching. A lot of that was that old regime. So I'm very eager to see what these new coaches do, especially Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. And if they like these guys, if they like Forbes, that's great. Okay, St. Juice for me, he can't stay on the field, and then when he does stay on the field, okay, it's like no,
on a pass thrown 10 yards over his head,
far overthrown.
Lockdown.
You know what I mean? It's like, what are you doing? But even in that, a vet wide receiver, you talk about our cornerback, you talk about Carl Davis that Corey brought up, a vet corner is going to know when to do that and when to go right back to the line of scrimmage. But they're also going to know those little older grandpa tricks where you hold the jersey, but you don't get caught doing that, or you kind of give a little chip coming out of the break or something that's going to kind of that little advantage that you're going to get. That's something that I want on this defense. I mean, we've seen what we did in youth, and we'll talk about that in a second in the safety position as well. But I want somebody that's experienced, that can come in the locker room, talk to those guys, but also be a quarterback in the secondary where he are kind of just talking, so that there's things that he might have seen that he can now teach these young kids. I think we're trying to put a lot of attention on these coaches coaching them, but some of the best teams have coaching through the players in-house.
Sure.
The vets come and they coach these guys and they talk to them, because regardless of how we feel about it, when you're on that field, when you're in those lines, coaches, you can't hear them all the time.
Right.
You know what I mean? And even if you know your scheme, if something happens, you can't always hear what they're saying. So to have that guy on the field and getting everybody together and talking, that is huge. So I think this is where we go experience. And I would spend some money here because we have talent. We just have to be able to harness it and get these guys together. So Joe Witt Jr. is going to help that. Dan Quinn's going to help that. But also I want a guy on the field.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to kind of see what they do at this position, because this is where, like I said, I don't know. I don't know what it takes what they're looking for, and what's going to take to improve it, because it's got to get better.
Right. No, absolutely.